Imagine Chicago, the windy city where every brick holds a secret and schemes are woven in the shadows of skyscrapers. But amidst all this hustle, there was an organization that operated quieter than a whisper, remaining invisible even to the most perceptive eyes of the FBI. The Kings of Hell. These aren't just words. This is a legend shrouded in myth and fear. They were so secretive that their very existence was questioned. How did the FBI manage to find and destroy something that no one could even detect? Get ready, because if you watch until the end, you'll uncover a secret that the authorities have hidden from us for almost 50 years. The secrets of this mafia will shock you to your core. Chicago, the mid-20th century. After the fall of Al Capone, the city didn't plunge into chaos as many expected. Instead, the void was filled by new players, but they operated very differently. The Kings of Hell were not like the flamboyant gangsters with lavish suits and loud shootouts. Their strength lay in their invisibility, and their ability to penetrate every sphere of the city's life while remaining in the shadows. This was a new generation of mafia, the true Invisibles. Their formation began at the very bottom, in working-class neighborhoods where recent immigrants were trying to survive the harsh conditions of post-war America. Distrust of the authorities, poverty, and a lack of prospects pushed young men into the arms of crime. But unlike other gangs, the Kings of Hell built their organization on the principle of strict secrecy from the very start. No unnecessary talk, no public statements, no high-profile murders unless absolutely necessary. Their power grew slowly but surely, like a cancer spreading through the city. The leaders of the Kings of Hell were atypical for their time. Instead of charismatic but impulsive bosses, the top was occupied by cold-blooded strategists who thought several steps ahead. One such figure was a man named Marco the Ghost Rizzo. He was never seen in public. His name was rarely mentioned even among his own, but his orders were law. Legends said that Rizzo had incredible intuition and the ability to predict police actions. He created a system where each member of the group knew only their narrow range of tasks, making it impossible to rat out the entire organization. Their laws were simple but ruthless. Loyalty above all. Silence is golden. Betrayal is death. Violating these rules was punished cruelly and demonstratively, but always without excess noise. A traitor's body might simply disappear, dissolving in the waters of Lake Michigan, leaving no trace. Such disappearances kept everyone on edge, forcing them to think twice before going against the Kings. The Kings of Hell controlled everything, from illegal gambling and alcohol smuggling to labor unions and construction contracts. They skillfully laundered money through legitimate businesses, becoming respected members of society who were actually pulling the strings from behind the scenes. For example, the story of how they controlled the supply of building materials for a new skyscraper in downtown Chicago. No contractor could get the necessary materials without their approval, which brought them millions and gave them incredible influence. Conflicts with the Kings of Hell were rare because they preferred to avoid direct confrontation. Their tactic was a silent war, destroying competitors from within through bribery, blackmail, and intrigue. If someone got in their way, that person would suddenly lose all connections. Their business would collapse, and they would find themselves completely isolated. This was far more effective than street shootouts, which attracted the attention of the authorities.
However, like any empire, the Kings of Hell could not exist forever. The secrecy that was their greatest strength ultimately became their vulnerability. The FBI, after years of unsuccessfully trying to find any lead, finally noticed the unusual absence of street violence in spheres where the mafia should have been thriving. This led them to a thought. Perhaps someone else was operating, someone smarter and more secretive. The key moment was the infiltration of an undercover FBI agent. This agent, whom we'll call the Shadow, spent nearly 3 years working on the Chicago docks, slowly gathering information, piece by piece. He saw strange cargo transfers, how people with no connection to the docks suddenly received huge contracts. He began to notice recurring patterns that pointed to an invisible but powerful organization. The Shadow managed to penetrate the lower echelons of the organization, playing the role of a small-time bootlegger and then an informant. It was incredibly dangerous. He risked his life every day. One time, he was almost exposed when one of the kings suspected him of playing a double game. The Shadow managed to convince him that he simply knew too much and needed protection from other gangs. This bold move allowed him to climb a little higher in the hierarchy, gaining access to more valuable information. It was then that he learned about the ghost Rizzo. Not his name, but his pseudonym and his influence. The information was so scarce that it only confirmed the leader's incredible secrecy. The FBI's investigation turned into a hunt for an invisible man, for a legend. They followed tiny clues, using financial trails, wiretaps, surveillance, everything they could. The turning point was the discovery of an underground casino, which turned out to be the central hub for collecting money for the kings of hell. It was an inconspicuous building in a quiet neighborhood, with nothing on the outside revealing its true purpose. But inside, life was booming. High stakes, influential people, and most importantly, people who reported directly to Rizzo. The raid was carried out swiftly and with maximum caution. No warning shots, no loud sirens. FBI agents simply walked in and arrested everyone inside. Among them was one of Rizzo's closest associates, who, breaking under pressure, began to testify. It was he who revealed the location of the ghost himself, a modest house on the outskirts of the city, where an elderly, unremarkable man lived, Marco Rizzo. His arrest was a shock to the entire criminal underworld of Chicago. No one could believe that the legendary ghost would turn out to be such an ordinary man.
The dismantling of the Kings of Hell became one of the FBI's most significant successes in the fight against the Mafia. They proved that even the most secretive organizations could not remain unpunished. This story is a reminder that true power lies not in noise and showmanship, but in the ability to act discreetly while remaining incredibly effective. The fall of the Kings of Hell caused a chain reaction. Their entire, carefully constructed empire collapsed like a house of cards. Many of the legitimate businesses they controlled went bankrupt, and the politicians and officials who took bribes from them were exposed. Chicago breathed a sigh of relief, freed from the invisible octopus that had entangled the city in its tentacles. But the legacy of the Kings of Hell remained. It became a warning to all who think they can hide in the shadows forever. The trial of Marco the Ghost Rizzo and his accomplices was a major event. Prosecutors managed to prove their involvement in racketeering, money laundering, and several disappearances. Rizzo, maintaining his composure to the last, was sentenced to life in prison. He never admitted his guilt, remaining true to his invisible image until the very end. This case forever entered the annals of criminology as an example of brilliant work by law enforcement against a perfectly organized criminal enterprise. So what happened to those who remained free? Many of them tried to fill the void, but without the strategic genius of Rizzo, they were doomed. Internal wars for power began, attracting even more police attention. The era of the silent mafia in Chicago was over, giving way to chaos and open warfare. The lesson was learned. No criminal empire can last forever, especially if it is built on fear and deception. This story of the Kings of Hell is not just a crime tale, it's a lesson about power, secrecy, and the inevitability of justice. They thought they could hide from everyone, but even the deepest secrets eventually come to light. If you've watched this far, you now know a part of that secret.
But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Want to know more? Then hit the like button on this video right now. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new thrilling stories, and write in the comments which mafia story interests you the most. And if we get 1,000 likes, I'll tell you about the most brutal war in the history of the New York Mafia. Believe me, it will be something else. Don't miss out. It's going to be intense. See you in the next episodes.